It's no secret, one of my favourite dinners is steak and spuds. And I'm going to show you now how to make it. Giddy up! The way I'm going to be making this today is the simplest way possible and the quickest way. We've got steak from Aldi, we've got a couple of spuds, we've got frozen vegetables, and we've got a little bit of butter as well. First thing we need to do is weigh out all our ingredients. I'm cooking 500 grams of potato in this recipe today because this is going to make me 2 portions of mashed potato. Now, in order for these potatoes to cook fast, what I need to do is chop them up into small pieces so I can boil them. And if they're in smaller pieces, they're going to boil even faster. Now we're going to give the spuds a little bit of a rinse off. Then add enough water just to cover the spuds, and then we're going to put it on the hob. I like to add a little bit of salt here just to speed up the boiling process. And then add the lid. And now it's time for the main character. So even though the packet told me the weight, I'm still going to weigh it myself separately because I want to be able to track this accurately. Now I'm going to season it as well with a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt. I'm just going to let it sit for a while. This steak has been sitting out most of the day, so it is room temperature. That's what's going to make it cook better. So while that's just resting for a wee while, I'm going to start preparing the vegetables. Now I'm cooking frozen vegetables here because, for the simple reason, they're super quick and super convenient. But of course, if you would prefer to cook your vegetables fresh and you've got the time to do that, by all means do it. So all we're going to do here is add in a little bit of water. I'm going to add this to the hob as well. Adding a little bit of salt, of course, for flavour and to speed up the boiling process. Spuds are looking great at the moment. Now let's get back to the steak. I will always insist that you cook your steak in real butter. The thing is, we don't want to go to town on it. 10 grams is enough to cook one steak. Look how accurate I'm able to measure it out just by cutting it off the block. So now what we're going to do is we're going to preheat the pan and warm the butter up. You'll know when the butter is warm enough because the sizzling will stop and it will start to slightly smoke. Then you're ready to put your steak in. So we're only going to put it in on one side for 2 minutes and then we're going to flip it over and cook the other side for 2 minutes. But while the steak is cooking, it's time to make our mashed potato. So the way I make my mashed potato, I'm going to drain the spuds. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the spuds back on the hob to evaporate the last little bit of water out of them. Then I'm going to take them over to be mashed. Now I'm only going to add in butter into my mashed potato. You can also add milk, but remember it's jacking up the calories. So a little bit of butter I'm going to choose over the milk. And of course I'll add in a little bit of salt also as well. Now the way I'll judge my steak being cooked is when the blood starts to come through on the top surface. And when it is coming through, I'll then put the steak over on a board just to rest. And while it's resting, I'll plate up the rest of the food. So remember earlier on, I made enough spuds for 2 portions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to divide it in half in the saucepan. I'm going to pick the slightly smaller portion and put it on my plate, and then the rest will go into my container. If there's a little bit extra in the container, I can make sure I divide it up evenly. Then I'm going to put out my veggies, and of course the main character, my steak. With any of the butter that has been left in the pan, it's going to be my gravy. I'm going to pour over my spuds and my veggies. That's why we weigh the butter, because we're consuming that as well in this meal. And this is the quickest and most convenient way to make a steak dinner for the man that's on the go. Giddy up!